Hiya! So this is gonna be like a summary of everything that I've made in 2025 for Art Fight. And I actually didn't really do much for most of the month because, of course, I had my exam season in the beginning of July as well. And it was a rough one as well. Like, I didn't get to do anything for the first half of the month. If I remember correctly, it lasted pretty much until like the 20th of the month or something around that time. So usually Art Fight is 4 weeks, but for me it was only really 2 weeks. This was my first time ever joining, so I only have 2 characters so far. I do have more in my brain, but like I said, with the exam season and everything, I didn't have the time to really upload more than that, and I thought 2 was enough for a start. But so once I was free, my first ever attack on there was actually of this character right here, who's called Chai or Cinnamon Tea. By the way, I'm probably gonna mispronounce some names in here. With this one, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right, but with some of the others, I don't really know, so I'm sorry for butchering them in advance. But anyway, this is what I drew. Unfortunately, I haven't recorded like the progress or anything, since this is traditional art, and I don't even have the piece myself anymore because I actually gave this to them as a birthday present, like IRL. That was honestly a perfect coincidence that they celebrated in July and that they were also on Art Fight. But yeah, I'm a big fan of how this turned out, especially because this is my first time ever trying to draw a pony. Well, technically not my first time. I made like a couple of sketches before that, just to kind of figure things out because I've genuinely only ever drawn humans. So I guess technically this like haven't counted like the 6th or 7th time or something that I've drawn a pony. And I think it turned out so good considering that. And with that all finished, I acquired my next target. Or my next 3 targets, I should say. Because actually, during the time that I couldn't participate, 3 other people drew my characters. And so I was like, okay, I gotta get them back. The first person was Rikavyn. Again, I hope I'm saying all of this right. But they drew my character Ellie. And look at this, this just turned out so cool. Honestly, before this, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna like Art Fight. But then once I received this was the first ever thing that I received on here. I was like, okay, no, I get it now. But so I had a look at their characters and I found this silly little bean. This is Mira the Jester, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to draw them. And so for this attack, or revenge, or whatever it's called, I'm still a little confused. But I just made like a digital painting for this and a full body as well with like a little abstract background. As you can see there, I was a little indecisive about the pose that I wanted to use, but ultimately I settled on this kind of leaning forward, kind of bowing down to the audience sort of pose. And by the way, what I'm showing you here, and what I also will be using for some of the others, is just Clip Studio's automatic time-lapse that it can automatically record for you while you draw. So this whole thing is gonna zoom past really quick, but in reality it of course took several hours, so don't think it was quick and easy, it really wasn't. But actually saying this, I did manage to finish this within just a day. I didn't really keep record of this unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure I started at around like 6 or 7 p.m. that day and I finished at around 1 a.m. And that entire time I was just drawing away. I was locked in. Really, I was locked in for like all of this, like, you know, the days that I did draw for Art Fight. And that's honestly so crazy to me because I'd like go to bed and I'd wake up and I'd keep drawing. It was like it was 2016 again. I don't think I've like drawn 2 drawings in a row, like day after day, since like 2016 or something. I really don't know, but I haven't really had much motivation in years, and Art Fight kind of brought it back. I believe it might just be the combination of the fact that you're not just drawing for fun, but you're also drawing for other people, since this is other people's characters that you draw, and also the fact that it's all just within the month. So like once July is over, Art Fight is over, and then technically you're not allowed to draw anything anymore. So it's like a now or never type of situation. But as you can see, Mira is all done, and this is what it turned out like. And I think it's so cool. I especially really like the playing card background. I just thought that would fit a Jester character so perfectly. Next up, I was attacked by a person called Kengodeng, and look at the piece they made. They drew like a whole background and everything. That's so crazy to me, like with all 3 of the people who attacked me, is that they must have really liked my characters that much that they decided to put in so much effort into these pieces. It really means a lot. But so on the left, we have my character Sarah, and on the right, we actually have one of their characters. They kind of did like a little crossover thing, which is such a cute idea as well. And I actually like the character that they drew so much here that I was like, in my revenge attack thing, whatever it's called, I actually want to draw that character. And here he is. His name is Kengen, and he's like an Oni, and he actually has like a really long story in his description. I honestly think that's so cool when people add like so much story in their descriptions. The stuff that I wrote in mine is quite sad by comparison. But so you're already watching the process here. Again, just the time-lapse. But actually, the Clip Studio time-lapse here is just half of it. Because I actually decided to do something special for this one. And I wanted to animate it. And I was a little unsure of what exactly I wanted to do at first. That's kind of a running theme with all of these, is that I kind of just have a go at it. And I kind of figure out what my plan is along the way. So at first, I was thinking of kind of animating like a fight stance and having him do like some fight moves, whatever. But then I was like, but that's gonna be quite difficult. And also, I wasn't so sure if that would fit the character very well. Because from what I could tell on the website, he seemed quite, you know, cutesy and quite friendly and all that. Maybe not like a fighter. I don't know, that might be a misinterpretation. But so instead, I just kind of had him like lift his arms and basically do some Oni magic. And so right now I'm preparing everything in Clip Studio, like all of the individual pieces. And I'm also shading all of them in here. And then what I did is I exported all of them individually. Well, okay, I didn't like export every single thing individually, but you know, the stuff that I needed to be alone on one layer, I exported alone on one layer. And so here you can see I had lots of like little bits that I could then reassemble in Moho. I always feel a little bit like a mad scientist whenever I animate. Oh, and by the way, I made these two little extra bits here as well. But so like I said, I put all of the stuff, reassembled it, all of the individual bits in Moho. And here is the basic character animation. As you could tell, I did not draw the face in Clip Studio, but I just added it in Moho, so I could fully animate every bit. And like I said, it's super simple. He just kind of lifts his arms. There's also his cape that's moving. Is it a little bit silly that the cape is moving that dramatically, but then his hair, for example, stands perfectly still? Yes, but I think it's fine. And he just does a little blink, and then he kind of looks down at his necklace, which gets like a little shine, a little twinkle every time. And then here it is with the background as well, and with the extra bits that I made basically. So as you can see, I just had like the circle spin, and I also added like a glow behind him. And so here is what it looks like, all complete and perfectly looping. Well, semi-perfectly, don't look too closely. By the way, the characters in the circle are just the character for Oni, and then in the top right it just says Kengen, which by the way I realized it might also be pronounced like Kengen or something, in which case I misspelled that in the top right, in which case I would be so sorry. But yeah, I think this turned out really cool. And then you're actually watching like the first version that I made, like the big file, but then I realized there's actually like a 5 MB upload limit, and so I had to crustify him a little bit, as I like to call it. And so I like cut the frame rate in half. And also this is only I think 400 by 400 pixels. And so this is the version that I actually uploaded. And so with that complete, let's move on to the next person who attacked me, which was HelhornArt. And look at the cool piece that they made. Again, this is Sarah, and I just think this turned out so cute. I love her expression so much. I remember opening this for the first time, literally being like, oh no, did they just draw a better interpretation of my character than I do? Because I feel like when I draw her, at least so far, her scarf's always been looking like really weird, and here they just did it, just easy peasy. I'm not jealous or anything. No, I'm not, no. Also, I'm seeing right now the lily pad looks really good in this as well. Oh no. Teach me, Hellhorn, teach me. And so I had a look at all of the characters they uploaded, and I had a really tough time deciding, but ultimately I landed on this character named Azzy, or I'm so sorry. And for this character, I just decided to make a normal painting again. So for this one, it's just the Clip Studio time-lapse as well. And so as you can see, I like found some references of some like fighting poses or fight stances, whatever you want to call it. And I kind of tried to follow them quite closely. I sort of like morphed both of them together and then edited them. So it's like not the exact same pose in the end, but these did carry me through it. The reason I decided to draw him like this is, as you can maybe already tell, he's supposed to be like a gladiator character, and his story actually seemed quite tragic. In his description, it says that the story is that he got kidnapped and then turned into a gladiator, and he doesn't really like fighting or anything, actually quite the opposite, but he has to do it to survive, right? And against all odds, he actually becomes the champion of the arena. And I just thought that sounded really intriguing. But so as for the drawing, this was really fun to make. Another new thing for me is I think somehow I've managed to never draw anybody who has like anything shiny on them, which seems kind of insane. I don't know, maybe I did draw somebody with something shiny, but I just left out that detail or something. Or maybe I didn't remember. But he has got some golden pieces in some spots, and I was like, wait, I actually don't know how to make it look shiny. So I just kind of had a look at how they did it in their drawings. And I kind of learned from that. I also tried to apply the same shine to his hair, which may be a bit ridiculous considering he's meant to be like fighting. Meanwhile, his hair looks like straight out of a L'Oreal commercial or something. But oh well, it's just a drawing. I can make it look pretty if I wanted. But yeah, with that, Azzy, or it could be Azai or something as well. I'm so sorry. But he's all done now. The very last thing you see me do here is add a background photo. And I actually very heavily edited it and edited it. Oh my god. Fun fact, that's actually a real photo from a trip that I went on a couple of years ago to Croatia. So it's from like an actual Roman historic site that I visited. With that, I have gotten my revenge against all of the people who have attacked me. So that was pretty much all I had on my to-do list, except there actually was one more last thing that I wanted to do, which is kind of like a full circle moment. I wanted to attack my bestie who introduced me to Artfight initially, and that was raccoongirl. And so I had a look at her characters. And I really like this one. This is Willow, and as you can maybe tell, she's from Baldur's Gate, like that game. That's something that you can also do. You don't have to necessarily draw a character, you can also take one out of a video game that you created. I think as long as it's just like, you know, an original character that you made, it's fine. But so for this one, I decided to make an animation again. I really liked the GIF that I made for Kengen, and so I was like, what if I try to make something like that again? But this time I wanted to make it a little bit different, where I didn't want to export the pieces from Clip Studio and then animate them a little bit in Moho. This time I was like, what if I do all of the animation in Moho and like build a whole puppet in Moho? And so I could make this one way more animated and add way more movement to it. And so for this one, I was in Clip Studio for a little while at the beginning. In here, I basically just drew like a base, because it can be kind of difficult to just make a puppet with vector graphics, just like that, with no guidelines. And you see, I don't know a single thing about Baldur's Gate, but in her description it says that she's a tiefling druid with the subclass Circle of the Stars. And so I did some very brief research on what the heck that means. And as I should have maybe been able to tell from the Circle of the Stars name, it seems that this subclass has kind of like star, space, themed magic, something along those lines. And so I kept that in mind for when I would eventually have all of the stuff in Moho and be ready to animate. Which, by the way, here we are, and this is the puppet that I made, and I recorded like a little clip of me wiggling all of the different bits. The disadvantage of doing the whole animation in Moho, unlike with Kengen, is that I can't really shade this one as nicely, but I think it still looks pretty cute. And so I got started with the animation, and I immediately made the most noob mistake ever. I gave her a left hand on her right arm. And so I was like, oh no, my bad, but oh well, mistakes happen, right? And guess what? I immediately did the same thing again, just slightly different. But actually, I liked how this hand turned out, so I used this one as her actual left hand. But then, you know, third time's the charm. this time I got it right. And then here, as you can see, I also added some more body movement and I also added some wind. And next up, I wanted to add some magic kind of in her hands. And luckily, Moho actually has some pretty good pre-made particles. And so I kind of tested all of them out. Maybe I had a little too much fun with that, but ultimately I landed on this sparkle effect right here. And what I ended up doing is just stacking a white one and a blue one on top of each other. This was also when I finally remembered that I kind of need a background, so I quickly made this kind of galaxy background that I think turned out really cool. Again, kind of tying back to how I hope she has like star and space magic. And with that, she's all complete, and this is what the final version looks like. As you can see, I also added like a camera zoom thing. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think it turned out really, well, magical. Is that too cheesy to call it that? And again, just like my gift before, I also had to crustify her because her file was too large this way. But even the crusty version, I think, looks pretty good. And yeah, that was it. That was my art fight this year. I've had so much fun participating. Again, like I said, it kind of brought like my art mojo back, like what the heck? So needless to say, if any of you are thinking about joining next year, I can really recommend it. If you'd like to attack me next year or any of the people mentioned in this video, I'll put lots of little useful things for you in the description. And I was Team Crystal. I actually don't know who won yet because for me, while I'm recording this, it's still going on and it's gonna end in a couple of hours. So I guess if we won, yay, go team. If we lost, oh well. We'll get you next time, next year, because I'll definitely be joining again. I hope, if I have time. I mean, my exam season should be in July again, but hopefully I'll be able to squeeze it in somewhere as well. Oh, and if it's a tie, I guess yippee everybody. But yeah, with that, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!